Welcome back everyone to a new design release walkthrough. The name of this design is called Set the Pace. So let's take a look at the layer options within this design to give you an idea what to expect in here. Alright, so as per usual with my design, starting at the top are our color grading layers. So these are grouped here, a couple different layers. These are designed to add a little bit of contrast, a little bit of color toning to the overall image, just so it feels a little bit more polished. As always, I recommend that subjects are brought in with their color tone neutralized a little, not too warm, not too cold. If they do come in a little bit warm, the color grading can make the skin tones feel a little overly warm, and if that's the case, you can just back off these color grading layers by bringing the opacity down to wherever it looks good to you. Alright, so there's our color grading layers. Below that are our facial highlight boost layers, so just to brighten the facial highlights. I will take a look at those once we drop a subject in here. Below that we have some text layers. So this is just your jersey number, and then I've got some texture clipped to this, so it's applying some matching texture to this number. Of course, this is just normal text, so it can be changed to say anything that you would like for it to. And the fonts that I'm using in my samples are linked on the product page if you'd like to find the same ones, or you can use any fonts that you would like. So again, some more fonts or some more text here. Then we got the name text here. Now on the last name, we're doing a little bit of a design element here where we're doing some color blocking to match this background shape. So this is just set up as a solid color fill layer, masked to fit that background shape. Alright, so you could just double click this layer and set that to any color that you would like in there. Alright, so very simple to change that or match to a uniform or school color. And then below that is just the text itself, which is just editable text. Alright, so now groups or layers marked in red always indicate where subjects go in my designs. So we have our first one. This is going to be for the foreground subject. So this one is kind of set up that you could do one subject which you'd place in the foreground, or you could do two subjects and do a foreground and a background subject. So we have some masking pre-built in, so that's why you want to drop them in the group. So if you expand this group, you're going to see the subject goes right above this layer here. And then we also have some stroke options applied in this group, which we'll see once we drop our subject in. So then our background subject, again, just expand here, background subject will go in here, and then we have some color blocking that's going to be applied based on this shape to the subject, which we'll take a look at again once our subject's in here. But that's just some hue saturation adjustments, which are very easy to work with as well. On below that, we've got a couple clipped layers down to the actual shape in the background, which is here, so that could be turned on or off. I have a sample sky in here just because I think it looks really cool for some of the sports to have like that sky option. And I set it up this way so that you can turn it off if you want to just do a solid fill background. You can do that. Or if you want to drop in your own background from your field or your gymnasium or something from the school or the league, you could drop your own background image in here as well. And then above that, we have just some overall hue saturation colorizing happening here. So you can see this hue saturation layer is set to colorize. So that's just going to allow you to push that hue to any tone that you like there, along with your saturation and your lightness and stuff. So you could tweak all that. If you want to make it a little bit darker and moodier, bring it down, or you can make it a little bit brighter by bringing it up. Alright, so that's all in there as an option. Below that is our background text. Now, because we have repeating background text, this is set up in a little special way here. If you've used some of my designs before, you may already be familiar. But this is done via smart objects. So you can see when we expand this background text group, there's a bunch of rows of text here. You can see as I turn them off and on here, they're all layered in here. So basically I just have do not edit on all of these because you really only need to edit one. So we'll just use the top one, and I have that marked, edit this smart object. So to update this text, we only have to update it once and it'll fix the repeat. And we do that by just double clicking on the layer thumbnail here. That's going to launch a new document window which has the text in it that we want. Alright, so What I want to do is just put my new text in, and I just kind of want to fill it to the edges of the canvas, but I don't want to overlap it because I don't want it to cut off. All right. So if we just double click here, and let's do, say our Nitro Wildcats. What I would do is just put a space, Command or Control A, Command or Control C to copy it, go to the end, and paste, and paste. And so now that I've got a little bit of space on each end, I'm going to go ahead and stop. Again, I don't want it to cut off. I'm going to click the check mark to apply it. Now you can also change the color of the text from here. So if you want, instead of black, if you wanted to make this, say, red, you could just click OK here. Now we're going to click X on this document window. It's going to ask if you want to save it. You're going to say yes. And when you do, it's going to update all of that background text with the new text. All right, so you just need to edit in the one spot and it fixes everything else. So that's how we change our background text. Now below that we have a couple of texture options. So the first one that's turned on by default here, background texture for lighter backgrounds. So if you turn this off, you're going to see by default it's kind of like this black and white background texture. We've got some hue saturation attached to this, so you can colorize that texture. If you wanted to make the texture kind of marks in there a different color, you can definitely do that. But then there's one set up for darker background. So let's turn this one off. So let's say we wanted to go with a black or a dark background here. Well, then we would use this background texture, and that's going to give us the light scratches against the dark. Okay, and the same hue saturation adjustment to colorize those scratches against the dark background as well. All right, so that's why there's the two options in here, one for the dark, one for the light. So let's set this back to white here. And there we go. So there's basically all of the layer options that kind of exist within this design to customize it. So let's drop a subject in and just see how we would get them in there and set up. All right. So what I want to do is I got a couple subject layers up here at the top. So here's one, here's two. So we're going to make this our foreground subject, this one our background subject. But to start with, let's just turn the background one off, and I want to drop our foreground one in. So I'm going to drag down, just drop right into this top group. And you're going to see a couple things happen right off the bat. One, the legs and the lower subject gets masked here to match the same angle of our graphics. And the other is this stroke effect gets applied around the cutout here. So I just think that looks pretty cool. You could always turn that off if you wanted. You could always change the color of that stroke line by just double clicking on the stroke here and then setting that color, you know, to anything that you would want that to be. You could do that within there as well. All right, let's cancel that. So if you just wanted to use a single subject, I would recommend just dropping them, you know, in the foreground group. So let's say we were just planning to use just this one. I would just do this, make her nice and large, and, you know, set things up that way, right? So that it looks very cool like that. But now, if we want to back up here and do a secondary one, let's just move her out of the way for just a second. And let's bring her second image in. We'll drop this one into the second group for the background. And you'll see there's going to be some color blocking that gets applied here. So let's grab our subject and let's size her up here. Command or Control T. And I'm going to do a shift drag out here on the corner. So let's say we want her a little bit bigger in the background, maybe something like this. Looks kind of cool. And then let's adjust the foreground here. So let's bring her. Oh, I'm going to back up. So something I did that I just caught that I shouldn't do earlier is when I was changing our subject, I was actually resizing the group instead of the subject. So you don't want to do that. So for instance, you want to make sure this group is opened and your subject is selected. There we go. You get to see me back up and fix a mistake. So make this subject a little bit smaller here for the foreground. Turn our background subject back on by turning on here. Redropping her into the background. There we go. Command or Control T once again here to do it correctly this time. So we'll leave it in here so you can see how easy it is if you make a mistake to just back up and fix it. Alright, let's click apply. Alright, so that looks pretty good. Maybe I want to make the foreground just a little bit smaller. I think that looks pretty good right about there. Yeah, I like that. I like how she's aligned there. That all looks really cool to me. Alright, so now let's tweak our colors so things match up here, okay? So, colors here are more this orange and blue. So let's see what we can do about that. Let's go ahead and collapse these layers here. So the first thing, we have this color blocking on the background. Now if you just wanted that as a normal color, you would turn that off and on right here above your subject here. So this one that's clipped. But then you also have the color to the background itself on that block here. So let's set this one first. So I think we want to make this more in those orange tones. So I'm going to pick up a little bit more orange this way. So a hue value of 12. So I'm just going to come up now for this color blocking on the subject, and I'm going to put that same value in here. Alright, so it's going to be the same value as that background, so it looks nice and uniform. Alright, that looks pretty good there. So now let's look at some other color options. So maybe our name text here. So let's double click on the text here and grab a color, and let's see what it looks like if we sample one of these blues. That looks pretty good. I like that. Maybe we can pick up. I'm trying to determine if I want to go more towards the orange. Let's do that because that shows up against her hair better. So let's pick up an orange for the text here. And then for that color blocking, let's see if it looks like if we pick a blue up for that. Might even like it white because she's definitely got white on her uniform. You know what? Now that I see it, that's why I like being able to see it in real time. I'm going to leave that white and we'll go with the white on her uniform. So we'll pick up some blue in the background here. Alright, so let's come down, tweak our color some more. So our background scratch kind of texture here, let's come down here and we'll pick up some of those blues from here. So let's bring our color over that way and bring that saturation down a little bit. I don't want to bring that lightness too low. There we go, just to pick up a little bit of those blue tones. Yeah, that looks good to me. I could also pick some blue up in her jersey number here. So let's come up here. Let's sample. That looks good. And then let's edit our background text. So what I'm going to do before I edit this text, because I want to make the background text the same color as the jersey number, is I'm just going to grab this color right here, Command or Control C, click OK. Now when we edit our background text, let's update the text. Control A, Control Command C, and paste. Alright, so I'm not going to paste again because it's going to be too long. I could possibly just do... That's a little bit too long too. So I'm actually just going to opt to leave that out. Click Apply. So I'm going to click my color, and now I'm just going to paste that same text color I grabbed. Oh, I forgot. When I copied it, I lost my number. Look at that. You're seeing me make all kinds of mistakes in this one. So let's redo this again. That'll kind of help you going forward by seeing me fix my own mistakes. Alright, so we're going to copy this one again. And so now the trick is when I go to edit this, it's not to copy and paste, but just to type it out. Alright, so one more time. There we go. Now when I apply this, click my color. There we go, paste the same color in, click OK. Close the window, save it. There we go. Now we get my repeating text updated with that color, so that looks good. And then we can edit our foreground text. So let's double click here. Alright, so if it's a little too long, there's a couple options. We can either Command or Control T and resize this down a little bit, which would probably be what I would choose to do. Or you could do it in 2 rows. So if you didn't want to do that, you could just double click and back this out and do 2 lines this way, which that looks good to me too. So I think I might leave it like that. And let's update our first name. Type our new name here. Again, we can set this text. Let's change the stroke color from less of that red to more of this orange. Okay, and okay. And then change the last name. So again, it's just text here. And let's update this. Alright, click apply, and that's going to update the text. And so the blocking's automatically applied via this layer here. So you can see once you get your color set, then you could just run with dropping your subjects in, across your team or anything, and it's all going to match up at that point. So, a few options in here to play with, and a few customizations. Let's do our facial highlight boost, so a little bit lighter skin here. So let's grab a white brush, and let's paint over her skin tone on her face here and here, just to brighten up her face a touch on those highlights. Again, if it's too much, you can always drop the opacity a little bit. These are set up as solid color fill layers too, so if you wanted to change the skin tone, make it a little bit warmer or a little bit more neutral, again, you could do all that very easily as well. There you go, just brighten our face up just a little bit so we're actually looking at our subject. And that's how we could run through these layers and customize this one with your subject. So, nothing too difficult. You did get to see me make a couple mistakes and go back and easily fix. So hopefully you see that that's not a big deal to do. Alright, so have fun with this one. I hope you find a lot of success with it. And as always, I will see you on the next one. Thanks everyone.